Welcome to Wanderings and Woolgathering, episode 100. The 100 episode milestone isn't actually the only thing of interest tonight, because tonight's show also marks the first time that we have live streamed an episode. So starting tonight, you can check out the show live as we record it. You can go back to YouTube, check it out there, or you can find us on your favorite podcatcher. So there is simply no excuse for not listening to us, because we're pretty awesome. Hey, before we get rolling tonight, I want to give you a quick sneak peek at what's coming up over the next few months. We have some really cool guests coming onto the show. We've got Michael Cerebolo, from the president, actually, of Schecter Guitars and the mastermind behind Beauty and Chaos. And he's going to come on and chat about his new album called Behind the Veil. We also have Starchild Comics coming in. They are an upstart comic company, and they're launching a new line of superhero comics. So it'll be fun to talk to those guys. And we've got some new releases coming up. Old Friends Deva Quartet has some really cool stuff coming out. Stabbing Westward, I think Mr. Mundy is quite the fan. He'll be excited about that one. We've got Envy of None, Slipknot, and of course the mentioned Beauty and Chaos. And we're pretty excited about all those. Oh, and also Slash next week. Tonight's episode is brought to you by 4411 Creative Agency. The good folks at 4411 provide custom marketing and flawless execution. Creative is their middle name. Head over to 4411creative.com to find out more. And now it's time to get this show rolling. And joining me is JPP.
We're live. I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. How's it
Is
going?
that why it's so dark over there? So if things go bad, you can just slink into the background?
It's always dark and brooding here.
You're like a teenager.
Hey, leave me alone. I'm in my room.
And on a brighter note, joining us is Mr. Metalhead Mundy.
Well, I don't know about brighter, but I'm here.
Got a lot of knickknacks back there.
Is that a Curio Cabinet?
Can you hear us, Mundy?
I didn't. You guys froze up. I'm sorry.
Oh, well then. Oh, he was asking if that was a Curio Cabinet.
Two of them, actually.
Oh, man. A twofer. Cool.
Something tells me that is more lacy than Metalhead, but who knows?
Yeah, my stuff's relegated to the bottom shelf, so you can't see it.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, hey, let's get started, because we do have quite a bit of stuff to get to tonight. We're going to be discussing some of our favorite moments over the last 100 episodes from the show, and we're going to be talking about our first and some of our most memorable concert memories. So let's start off with our concert memories. So, gentlemen, we'll begin with JPP. Let's go with your first. What was the first concert that you ever saw?
The first really cool experience I had actually was with Metalhead Mundy. His mom and stepdad put us up for the night in a hotel down in Carmel area, if I'm not mistaken. Drove us down to Market Square Arena to see Kiss, Great White, and Trickster. And Kiss was the headliner, of course. It was on their Revenge tour.
Yep.
And they actually recorded a live 3 while they were there. So
yeah, I think a live 3 they recorded in Indy, Cleveland, and Detroit, I believe.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool to know that, there's probably us in the background yelling, and we couldn't be heard, of course, because, we weren't on the mics, but we were there. Still a pretty kick-ass show. Really, really good time. And hey, Indiana Man says everything's working well. Thank you, Indiana Man. He must be a Hoosier. So yeah, that's my submission for today.
Well,
yeah, that was definitely a good time. I still to this day I don't understand why my mother was so supportive of the metal stuff, but she was very cool. She helped me get a lot of concert tickets and all kinds of stuff like that. And like Paul said, they took us down there and we stayed in a hotel overnight, and we got yelled at because we were wired from the concert and they were trying to sleep and we were messing around with each other, laughing and all that. So
Yep. And I remember when we were at the show, this guy walked up to us like, "Hey, you know where I could score some good stuff?" And I'm just like, "Dude, I'm like 15. I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Coke and popcorn's that way.
Exactly. If you want one of those big fingers from WWE, I suggest the merch booth over there.
That was back in the days too, before cell phones. I mean, they literally just
Mhm.
dropped us off in front of Market Square Arena and was like, "We'll meet you here after the show."
Yeah. Yeah, we stood out there forever waiting. It was cold, and it was like a bunch of people walking by, and a little nervous, don't get me wrong, in Indianapolis, and being young and naive, but we survived, and it was a hell of an experience. So
Yep, good
I
time.
actually enjoyed the shows at Market Square. I feel like the acoustics were far better than whatever it's called now. It keeps changing its name, and I've seen them in the Hoosier Dome, and God, the acoustics were so awful in those. But I felt like Market Square had pretty nice acoustics for an
Mhm.
arena.
Yeah, I'd been there several times for events, and WWF being one of them. With Leaping
Same.
Lanny Poffo and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and
Yep.
all that stuff. So it was always
Yeah.
a great time. I'm sad to see it go. In fact, when I randomly met Hacksaw Jim Duggan a few years ago at a comic convention, we talked about Market Square, and he said he loved that place so much. He said it was a great
Nice.
venue to come to.
Very cool.
Yeah, we saw,
Yeah, we saw-
Hulk Hogan slam Andre the Giant there.
Yeah, I
Nice.
was there.
Sweet.
Yeah, we saw lots of good shows there, and I never went to the Hoosier Dome or anything like that. I think I went there one time to see my cousin play, Tipton got into the state finals for football or something, and they played there. So, but I never saw a show there. That kind of stuff is like, it's too big. Market Square was great. The Field House, I don't know who the sponsor is right now either, but I just call it the Field House.
Yeah.
I've seen a few shows there. I've heard good audio and really crappy audio, but I prefer smaller shows anyway. So
Mhm.
All right, so Monday, what was your first?
my first concert was in July of 1991. I was 15 years old, and I had I had one buddy, and I ended up going with him and a friend of his. And we went to see the Clash of the Titans tour. This was Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer. It was a huge metal tour. They all had new albums out, in 90 and 91. And they went on this massive summer tour. And basically what they did was they rotated the lineup every night. So you never know who was going to open and close and all that. And they took actually an opening act was this little band that nobody really knew very well called Alice in Chains.
Oh, that little group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the only song anyone knew was Man in the Box. So that was kind of cool. And they played, broad daylight and like half capacity. And so, but I saw Alice in Chains. I saw Lane. So
That's awesome.
and then that
That's
night, they actually played in alphabetical order. So it was Anthrax and then Megadeth and then Slayer. And so, yeah, I mean, and the kicker was really cool. It was at that time we kind of called it Deer Creek. Now it's like everything else; it's got a sponsor and it changes all the time.
Mhm.
So, but at that time, Deer Creek would have a fair every summer, and they would do free concerts during the fair. And this was one of those. So it was literally $6 admission to get into the fair. And I saw this show for free. Blew my mind.
Wow. Do you guys remember at Deer Creek, they would have the low-dough carload show?
Yes.
And you would just pay like $20 for the car, and everybody got in.
Yep.
Mhm.
I do remember that.
Now the convenience charge is more than $20 per
No
person.
kidding.
Yep. Yeah, and I
Wow.
remember when you went to that concert because you asked if I could go, and my mom was like, "No." That's the problem of having older siblings because they go and do bad things, and then they automatically think, "Yep, you're going to do that lifestyle." Absolutely not. And it's like, what are you talking about? I just want to go watch these bands. I love these bands. And then the night you were there, I remember feeling really depressed because I wasn't there. It was like you took my girlfriend out, and that something like that. You know what I mean? It was like that level of jealousy. And so I sat there with my headphones on, listening to Sepultura all night and just moping.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, it was a great night. We just kind of mostly walked around the lawn. You know, we didn't have pavilion seats or anything. So, but it was fun. And I like my buddy that I went with, like his whole family went. Like they loaded up their van, his mom and his siblings, and like they all went. They went to the fair while we went to the concert. So it was cool. Oh, and I almost forgot my visual aid. This is the program from that show. You can see all their mascots on there and that logo. And this thing is big. Like it's, this is a big book. It's seen better days, but I still have it.
Nice. What's on the inside?
It's mostly just pictures. I don't. That's funny. I actually have a clipping of a picture from a magazine of
young Tom, young Dave, young Scott,
and so that's like centerfold is pictures of the bands and the logo, and it's just really, it's just different pictures of the band. There's an Anthrax spread, and it's all stuff like that.
Cool. And that was Persistence of Time era for that tour for them.
Persistence of Time, Rust in Peace, and Seasons in the Abyss.
Yeah, great albums across the board. That was a good year.
And of course, Facelift.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, and let's just tell the crowd too that Scott Ian loves the name Metalhead Monday.
Yeah.
Yes. We have it. We have it officially.
Yep.
He's a fan of me.
Yes.
So that's on the Wanderings of Woolgathering Facebook page if anyone would like to see that. Some nice guy got me a cameo from Scott Ian, and he loved my name. So
yep, he said it rhymed with King Kong Bundy.
If only he could see me.
Yeah, exactly. Not far off, right?
Svelte. That's how we describe Monday. I feel like you almost cheated having your first concert be that. I feel like
I know, right?
It's like driving. You should start off with a Chevette before you build up to the nicer cars, and you went straight in for the Cadillac.
Yeah.
If we want to split hairs, I could say technically my first concert was legendary country artist Crystal Gale.
Ooh.
At the Kokomo Memorial Gym with my grandparents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
It's not the story's not as good, but
yeah,
maybe it's true. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we don't say that. We don't say that.
In that case, does Cowboy Bob musical performance count?
Yes, it absolutely.
I saw him
Cowboy
too.
Bob as a kid.
Yep.
I saw him at the Ringling Brothers Circus.
Oh, nice.
I met him in the elevator, and he gave me a signed 8x10.
Very cool. Do you still have that too?
I thought I did, but I don't know where it is.
You should put it in your Clash of the Titans book, okay? I'm just saying.
Right.
All right. Well, I should have gone first. I can't follow that.
Yours is pretty cool too.
But Colin Hay didn't say, "Hey, I love Foggy" in his name. So yeah. Anyway, so my first one, I guess, is only kind of cool because it was in 1981, so I was only 10, and my brother took me, and it was the Indianapolis Tennis Center in Indianapolis, and it was Billy Idol opened for Men at Work.
Wow!
So it was all in the fervor of Down Under and all that kind of stuff, and people were talking about Vegemite sandwiches and everything. So that was kind of cool. It was at the time, I consider it an amazing concert because I liked both. I really liked Billy Idol. Listened to him since he was in Generation X, and so I was a huge fan of him anyway. So that was probably the highlight for me. But it was cool. My brother took me. He didn't have to do that, which was awesome. You don't want your 10-year-old brother tagging along, but he did it. So thank you, Brian. That was good.
And I'm jealous too because I believe Steve Stevens was the guitar player then. So
should have been.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it was, of course, you're at the tennis center, so it's small, so it's a nice open venue.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was outdoors, and it was a pretty cool show.
Sweet.
So, not Anthrax or anything,
but what is really?
Not everything is cool Monday. All right, well, we all had a nice first concert. Let's just add an interesting concert moment. JPP, let's hear it.
I'm sorry, you're really choppy. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, my end too.
And now he's frozen and blurry.
Frozen.
Yeah, it looks like I've had too many daiquiris here.
Seriously?
Seriously. I did hear that. That did compute, but you still kind of paused in your pose. Oh, you moved a little. You're buffering.
Well, it's still going. I still hear everything. So as long as you guys are going, I hear it on my end. Let's just keep rolling.
Cool. So you're talking about favorite concert moments and such?
Yes.
Cool. There's millions of them, but
so many.
Yeah, no kidding.
I feel like Paul worked at Karma Records, which is like a not local, but it's kind of an Indiana chain, wasn't it?
Regional, yeah, for Indiana.
Yeah. So and they sold concert tickets. So when Paul started working there during the summertime, that's all he and I did was go to concerts.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no. So, well, of course, seeing Anthrax later on with like, what was it, Biohazard and
that was Pantera, Biohazard,
Sepultura. Yeah, that was a great show. And then it was Anthrax later on, and
they were White Zombie,
and Quicksand opened for one of those lineups at that time too. So got to be turned on to new bands then for sure. We saw them on Headbangers Ball, but one of my favorite moments was Lollapalooza '97. It was Tool and Prodigy were the headliners. And I hung out a lot at the second stage, honestly. Got to see some indie bands, and I met this little band called Failure. And, at the time, never really. I saw one video on MTV, and I definitely wanted to see them live. And, I mean, they just blew me away. And then Ken came down and chatted and signed a little sticker. His guitar player came down and signed a sticker, and it turned out to be Troy Van Leeuwen from Perfect Circle. And it was just really awesome. And he's like, well, I'm going to go watch Tool. You're welcome to tag along if you want. So I walked with him. And then he was like, and this is where we part ways, because I am going to go backstage and watch from the side, and you can go see from wherever you are. So I took my little spot in the pavilion, and that was that. And that was really cool because, Tool was killer. And then Prodigy was great. Keith Flint came running down my aisle and all that kind of stuff. And just a really awesome blend of, my love of electronic music and metal and all that good stuff too. And I remember Tricky was performing there too. And it was like the Marley family. They had a lineup there that was really cool. Just great, diverse lineup. It was really cool. And go ahead.
That was a fun show.
Yeah.
I believe I was there with my that would have been my wife at that time, which is not my current wife. Right. So I stayed with her. I didn't go with you to the side shows, no side stages and all that. So
yeah, I was kind of the loner that day, but it was fun. I want to give my other favorite concert was when I worked at a guitar shop in the hometown. One of our product reps came in, and he was talking to me and my buddy Andy, and he's like, "Hey, you guys happen to like King's X?" I'm like, "Love King's X. It's one of my faves." Yeah. He's like, "Well, they're playing at the Patio tonight, and I used to be their tour manager. If you want to come, I'll just put your name on the list, and you guys just come on in." So we did, and they had arena-sized rigs in the patio, which like 50, 60 max capacity.
Oh my
Blew
God,
my face off. What's that?
How'd they fit that in there? The patio's so tiny.
Well, it's basically like 3-4 amps on one side, 3-4 amps on the other, and then a drummer, and it was just like, bam! It was huge. And then, of course, after the show, our rep said, "Yeah, come on, we'll go say hi to him and stuff." So I got to talk with Doug Pinnick for a while, and the guys, and just super humble, nice fellas. And in fact, I saw Doug Pinnick was at the Korn concert recently. He posted a story, and I think he's pushing 70 now, and he doesn't look it.
Yeah.
He's in there in the crowd just bouncing around like crazy. And it's like, man, I want to be like him when I grow up.
Still sounds great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So
King's X is amazing. That's killer.
Huge sound for a 3-piece. Yeah. Bottom line. So anyway, I'm done talking.
All right, Monday. What do you got?
Well, Paul, like I said, Paul and I, we've been to a lot of the same shows. I don't know. I got to say, it's been fun. Going to a lot of concerts with my wife, Lacey. She did not have the same experience that Paul and I did. So she didn't go to a lot of shows when she was younger. So I think the first band that we saw together was, the first show that we went to was Flogging Molly, which was amazing. I love the Irish music, and that's kind of one of the things we bonded over when we first started dating and stuff. So that was really cool. And I also saw Frank Turner there, who I absolutely love. Sometimes if I go to a show and there's an opener that I've never heard of, I kind of try to dig deep on them before I see them. And man, I am a lifelong Frank Turner fan now. And I actually met him because he was at his merch table after he played. So that was pretty cool. There was a lot of shows. It seemed like every time Paul and I went to a show together, we ended up meeting someone. Like, I mean, we met Anthrax. We saw Ministry, and the Young Gods opened up for them. We met their Young Gods keyboard player. We met Christian Old Wolbers from Fear Factory when we saw them.
Yep.
We saw. I mean, it's kind of cool how you just kind of bump into people, you know.
Yep.
So,
And we met Anthrax with the Misfits was the headliner. Life of Agony couldn't make it because their tour bus broke down.
yes. And one of my favorite bands since the 90s is Prong, and never got the chance to see them until they came to Kokomo, Indiana for some reason. We had a bar here that they were pulling some big names for a while, some fairly decent names. And like I saw Soulfly there, and Prong came through, and I'm like, oh my God, they're like literally 2 minutes away from me. I got to go see them. And we ended up, it's a tiny place. So we ended up meeting Tommy Victor and Art Cruz, who was the drummer for Prong at that time. And Paul kind of made a connection with Art over where Paul worked at that time. And they started kind of an email relationship. And when they rolled back through Indy, Paul hit him up, and Art put us on the guest list. So we saw them for free in Indy again. So that was pretty cool. And we met them again there. So that was definitely a highlight for me. I love Prong so much.
Yeah.
So
yep, you got the little wristband with the logo on it. It's like, oh yeah. Kind of like Wayne's World, Backstage Pass.
Yeah. It wasn't that though. I was hoping it was, but we didn't really get to hang out with them.
Yep. Yeah, Center Stage was the place. And you know, the worst part about that show was they had a dozen opening acts. It felt like there was like 5 of them. So Prong didn't even go on until after midnight. And apparently that tour was notorious for that kind of business model, when Prong was pissed.
Yeah, it was terrible. So many horrible bands. So bad.
Yep.
Oh, and I saw Seven Dust at Center Stage here. So, and got to hang out with LeJohn, and I believe it was Vinny a little bit. Vinny was very intoxicated.
Oops.
He was very friendly.
Nice.
Wow. That's quite a few cool shows.
Oh yeah. Good times.
Yeah. Been a lot.
You know, yeah. And I remember when we saw Anthrax, I think it was like right after I got married, it was like 2005, 2006, when they did that Among the Living tour with Dan Spitz coming back on board. And you and I, at Fort Wayne Coliseum, and you and I decided to kind of stand in the front area as much as we could. Sean stayed up in the seats, which I should have in hindsight, because I took a knee to the kidney because the mosh pit was right behind me, and we
got knocked around a little bit.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm getting a little too old for this.
Yeah.
And you know, Jeremy, I too have been to a concert with Lacey.
You have?
Yes, indeed. It was one we shared it's last year. No, actually, it's been a couple of years now, thanks to COVID. But yeah, we all saw Ghost together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
And she came to Soulfly with you at the Vogue, didn't she?
She did,
yeah,
yes, which I still think is hilarious, because I think you've all heard my impression of her impression of Max Cavalera, which is basically, I'm listening to Soulfly or something, and Sepultura, she walks in the room and just goes, "Arr, arr, 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 arr."
That's the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have her on the show to do that sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I'm pretty good at it.
I still like the time when you and I met Woody and what's his name from COC, and she's like, "I'm glad you guys are excited, but it looks like you're taking pictures with homeless men."
Yeah, it was Woody. It was
Pepper.
Woody and Pepper.
And yeah,
I sent her the pictures, and she was like, "Cool. I don't know who that is." All right.
Okay, well, I've got a couple, I guess. So I really liked back in the day seeing people who became a lot bigger when they was very small. So we were at IU in Bloomington. I think this was probably 92 or 3. It was when Live came out with Mental Jewelry, and they came to the center in the middle, the Union Hall, and it was just a teeny little room, and they just were set up in there, and everybody just stood around them as they played. and it was one of those moments where you were just so close that and it was right in your face, and it was so good. And it was before they really blew up with Throwing Copper later and all of that. Lightning Crashes, became really big and all that. So that was a really cool experience. And of course, you guys know I love Smashing Pumpkins, and they had played in Bloomington at a frat house. And I saw them there, which was weird. But then the time I saw them was really cool. Is they were at this little venue at the Indiana Fairgrounds. It wasn't the Coliseum. It was this little room off to the side. And so it was really small. And you got what you expected. He yelled at us for requesting songs, which was just amazing because that's what you want at a Billy concert.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
That room, was it kind of like just kind of narrow and long with like stage at one end?
Yeah, and there's not really a high ceiling. It's like an exhibition hall. It's really small.
I saw Megadeth there in like 93, I think. It was the
Countdown to Extinction tour?
Yes, it was that tour. And the opener was Stone Temple Pilots. Nobody knew who the hell they were.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, I don't know what that place is called, but that's where I saw them too.
Indiana Man, quickly find it. It's that little venue at the State Fairgrounds. Come on, you can come through for us.
That's funny.
And then I guess it's weird. I'm not, Slipknot and Rush are two of my favorite concerts, but they're not on here because it was kind of a cool moment. 1987, I was 16, and we loaded up a van and we all went to see U2 on the Joshua Tree tour.
Oh, cool.
And so what was really neat is the opening band comes out and it's a country band. And we're like, what? I'm like, oh my God, that's Bono. That's the Edge. They're dressed up as another band opening for themselves. It was like a really cool moment that you don't get at a lot of shows. So that was really a neat experience. And that one was at Market Square Arena back in the day. And so
cool.
Their shows, of course, got a lot bigger since then, but it was a cool one. I love that album. Still love that album. I don't love U2 nearly like I used to like them, but that album still, I think, stands the test of time and is brilliant. So
nice. Here's a kind of an oddball question, not more like a curveball, but do you have any memories of wild concert moments, like some chaos or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I got a good one. I got a real good one.
Go for it.
So I went to I don't remember what year it was, but it was one of the Family Values tours, like Korn and Limp Bizkit. That year, I want to say Limp Bizkit was headlining.
I went there with you.
Maybe it was Korn headlining because I don't think you were at this show.
Okay.
I think Danny was at this show. Our friend Danny Moore. But I went with some friends from work. I worked at Farmore at that time, which does not exist anymore. And we were on the floor, and this was at Market Square. So they used to do hockey games in Market Square, and they had like the hockey barriers up around the floor, and then kind of a pit area where security and people would walk, and then the stands went up from there. So at some point, people were jumping from the stands onto the floor, and it was crazy. And some dude jumped and kicked my buddy's girlfriend in the head. Oh, and he hit the floor and jumped up and ran. Like he was gone. Like we didn't even have time to say anything to him.
Wow.
And she was standing there for a second, just holding her head, and she was talking to us. And then she just her eyes rolled back and she was out.
Oh my gosh.
Out cold. We had to carry her over to the medics, and that was insane. That was scary. It was real scary. But she made a full recovery, and we were
good deal. Thanks, Indiana Man.
Enjoyed the rest. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was right after I graduated and moved to Indy before I headed back to Kokomo. So
wow, crazy.
Great show. And like I said, if you don't get yelled at, back in those days, it wasn't a good concert. So we did. So I felt good about it.
Good deal. Two of the craziest moments. Well, I remember the first time we saw Nine Inch Nails was at Ball State in their arena there.
And the Rush.
Yeah. Well, we took our buddy Jeff. Were you at that show too, Steve?
I was not at that one. Yeah, Tony was there.
But
that was Jeff's first show, right?
Yeah, he was screaming like he was on the Ed Sullivan Show with the Beatles. I'll tell you what, it's crazy. But then, out of nowhere, basically anybody that was facing the stage directly in the upper pavilion or upper sections came rushing down, and I saw people drop kicking and just bum rushing the floor. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But luckily ours stayed pretty chill. I was happy where I was, but I took a coworker. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we were like scared kids, like what's going on? What's going on?
I'm going to die. But I went to Wu-Tang and Rage Against the Machine at Deer Creek, and I took a young coworker of mine when I worked at Sam Goody. And, he was still in high school at the time, and his mom said, take good care of him, let him enjoy the show and all that stuff. Wu-Tang told everybody in the lawn to get in the pavilion, and we got squished and people got hurt. There was a lot of, chaos, of course, people throwing the sod and all that kind of stuff as they tend to do at Ozfest and everything as well. But it was really uncomfortable to watch Rage Against the Machine. I'll tell you that, because Wu-Tang's set was great. Don't get me wrong, but people just would not stop pushing to get into where we were. And man, that was, I didn't know if we were going to get out of that one.
I really think that I've got you both beat on
good.
The harrowing experience. So I had to take Sistine to Camp Rock.
Oh my gosh.
It was brutal.
I remember that.
It was painful. It was so funny. They would call up a couple kids on the stage, and they were teaching them a dance or whatever. And so all the girls on the lawn and they're all standing up, and you could just look to your left and your right. Every dad was there with their kid sitting on the lawn, just as everything went on around us, just thinking, oh God, when is this going to be over? It was rough.
It was like
I have a good one that's
a psychic commiseration, if you will. Commiseration. Go ahead.
I have a good one that's kind of the reverse of that. So my boys, they both used to like Panic at the Disco. We've taken them to see them twice. They are so good live. Excellent band. I would see them again in a heartbeat. The first time we saw them, they were opening for Weezer. So like a whole big group of my oldest son's friends went to the show. So we met up with them. Panic's playing and they're all going nuts and whatever. And Weezer comes on and all the kids just sat down. And we were like, yeah, Weezer.
Wow. Didn't realize they were generational. I thought everybody liked Weezer.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, that was fun. That was a cool little trip down memory lane.
Oh yeah.
But now we got to get to the real business, because this is episode 100. When we started this, I had no idea that we would make it to 100, and now I feel like we're full steam ahead. 200 will be right around the corner. But looking back, what are some of your favorite moments or connections or whatever music that we found over these past 100? Because I've been opened up to a lot of new music, a lot of people, and I feel like we've made some friends through the show. So what do you guys think? What are some of the moments that really stand out to you?
Who do you want to go first?
I don't care. Whoever's ready to roll.
Go for it, Monday.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, if you insist.
Both of us at once. Ready, go.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I liked the butterfly effect that happened with an acquaintance of mine, Mr. Steven Siebold of Hate Department. And one time on Facebook, I saw that he said, hey, there's this really cool project out called Beauty and Chaos. Be sure to check it out. There's wonderful things going on. And I listened to it and thought, man, this is really cool. We should give it a listen. And then we listened and reviewed here on the episode, on the show, as an episode. And I think Michael's Google filter picked up on the fact that we talked about it, because he reached out of nowhere and said, hey, thanks. You guys really got what I was after. And he became a guest on the show with him and his wife. And now he's a friend of the show. And, he's, of course, thrown me some remix opportunities. So he's really fostered my creativity in that regard and kind of put the fire under my tail to keep going in times when I'm in a rut and that sort of thing. So that was incredible. And the fact that, we've created a nice connection with him, and he's always throwing us other things to check out. And, his enthusiasm for being in the industry for as long as he has been is impeccable. And, it's inspiring.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really know exactly how he found us. Like, I know I remember that Steven, hooking you up with that and
Mhm.
saying, check this out. But yeah, and I, as small as we are, like that dude's the president of Schecter Guitars. Like he has no reason to bother with us at all. Like this show is beneath him, really. I mean, let's be honest, but man, yeah,
Mhm.
so cool that he just keeps coming back and really like the opportunities he's given you, Paul, and
Right.
yeah, it's very, very cool. And his wife is lovely as well.
Yep. Good people.
Tish was awesome.
Yep.
And really we could segue into, one that I was going to talk about overall was just the fact that he has introduced us to people that have then come on the show, people that we listen to.
Yep.
Ashton Knight comes to mind. He came on the show with his release that he did.
Holy Wars.
Holy Wars. We had, we reviewed that. She was on the show. Very funny.
Kat and Nick both were.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And then one of the people on the new release, Whitney Ty, I've gone back and forth with her a few times. She's going to send some more details because she's got a project coming up. I think it's going to be out in the next couple of months. Another one outside of Beauty and Chaos. So I'm going to cover that, and hopefully we'll have her on the show. But it's just been like a chain of really cool things because Michael is awesome and he's introduced us to some really nice people, and we've been able to have him on the show. And not only that, I love it. The basis of our show is that we review records. And so we got to review his record. And the cool thing is we all loved it. I mean, we all love post-punk kind of music, and it has that feel. It's just really genuine, authentic music, and we all liked it. So
yeah,
I really,
Yep.
Yeah, Holy Wars. I love their stuff, and I recently, it's been maybe a few months ago now, but I sent a message to Kat, and because I don't know if they put a new song out or something, but I just like sent her a quick message, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, and she was like, oh yeah, how are you guys doing? But she was wonderful, and yeah, it's just good to meet nice people in the industry and that are making good music that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go next because I guess I don't have a specific thing to highlight about this group, but I can say something coming up. But when everybody knows I'm the Rush guy on the show, and so this little group that plays violins and violas, and they've got a drummer and a bass, cello, and so they redid 2112. And so that came to our attention, and then we reached out, and they were great. They came on the show, and so we kind of created a little relationship with Mr. Waters and Liza McClellan, and then she came back on the show, and she went through. We both read Clockwork Angels, and then we reviewed the album with the novel together. So they've been on a couple of times. My son and I drove to Hamilton, Ontario, to go watch them record the video live for 2112. So that was cool. I mean, just from, I guess, knowing that they were doing that, reaching out, and then the next thing we've built a relationship there. And then, so he reached out to me today. He's producing the record, and they've got new music coming up. And so over the next couple months, we're going to be able to bring some new music to you guys from Deva Quartet. So that was a real highlight for me over the past 100 episodes.
That's awesome. Yeah, their stuff is so cool. So cool. And it's, I've always enjoyed Strings, and like their arrangements are really cool, and their performance of 2112 is pretty spectacular. And yeah, Eliza came on, man, she was so cool, so nice.
Yep, most certainly. I was going to say too, another piece, and I'll let you speak, Monday, but some of my favorite moments in the episodes is when I was trolling Foggy at the beginning with technical difficulties or whatever, because of course, somebody's got to give the host a rough time occasionally.
That is actually one of my favorites as well. So. There were times I was waiting for it and it didn't come. And I was just like, oh, what are you, sleeping on here?
Yeah, technical difficulties. I know. I need to work on that again.
Metalhead, go.
Well, I can't imagine it. I would say anything other than talking about Jack the Radio. I mean, that whole experience was, I mean, it just happenstance, total happenstance. Foggy and I are big comic nerds. We have been our whole lives. We're slowly bringing Paul into the dark side. And
Still need to open my
so
order, as a matter of fact.
there you go. But so we our local comic shop is Comics Cubed in downtown Kokomo, and our good buddy Sean, I went in there and he was like, "Hey, this looks like something you would like," and just handed me this comic. And I didn't bring that for visual aid. I should have. But it was something, it said Jack the Radio, and it had some like skeleton, like metal skeleton cowboy looking. I'm like, what is this? So I was like, it looks cool. I took it home, and it was basically adaptations of this band, Jack the Radio, of their songs in comic book form. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I found their music, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are good. So, and then we just kind of reached out to them, and that, George Hodge, the singer, guitar player, main songwriter, and Kevin Rader Rodenbaugh, the drummer, came on the show. And we found out that Kevin is from Kokomo, like us. He went to Taylor, where Paul and I graduated from, and where Steve is now the principal. So we were like, holy crap. And
he went to school with my sister, and he was a Ball State grad and knew professors that I knew. And it was just like, are you stalking me through a time machine or what?
Such a small world. And they're based in North Carolina, we should say. So it's not like they were in Indiana. They're in North Carolina. And we're like, holy crap.
Yep.
So, and, I've kind of continued an online relationship with George. He's super cool. I've ordered some merch from him and love his artwork. And Kevin actually came home to Kokomo to visit some family, and we ended up meeting with him and having some drinks, and him and his lovely wife. And man, that was so cool. And he's, I just talked to him very recently, like just a few days ago, and he said that, if he comes back, he's gonna try to make some more time for us. So
cool.
It's just awesome to hook up with a band that is so good, and you enjoy their music, and then they're really cool, and you just kind of form lasting friendships. So my goal now is to see them live.
Yes.
Yeah, we will. But and there's another one where we got another connection because of Wave Blue World, because it had the comic that went with it that we reviewed at our website, and it was fun to listen to the record and read that at the same time because they were pretty seamless. It was very cool, and that hooked us up with more people. And was it Mr. Zimmerman? I believe was one of the gentlemen we spoke with, and it's fun because we love comics so much to talk to people who create them and find out what it takes and what the world of creating comics is like. And then we've got another new comic company coming up, which will be cool again. So
yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, Tyler and Justin from a Wave Blue World, man, they were so cool. And that was another connection through the comic shop too, because when COVID hit, like the main comic distributor kind of shut down. So Sean wasn't sure what he was going to do because he wasn't getting products. So he started reaching out to all these independent companies and ordering from them because they were still going, and they weren't shipping through this distributor. They were just shipping direct. So they and Wave Blue World was one of those companies. So he ordered a bunch of their stuff, and like they helped keep him afloat, when COVID first hit. So very cool.
JPP, any other moments stand out for you? Any other music that you found that?
Trying to think. I mean, I liked. One of my favorite albums we reviewed was Rammstein's latest. That was front to back. I know you had a hard time with it because it wasn't in English, but I found what's interesting is I found a vocal instructor, vocalist, if you will, an opera singer. She does reviews based off of viewer feedback. So she's done a lot with like Devin Townsend, Tool, and she did Rammstein as well. What song was it? The one of the big long productions that Auslander, I think it's called, or no, Deutschland. It was Deutschland. Yeah. Yes. So she found the translation of the lyrics and stuff too. So she went real in depth with it, and it was very cool to kind of get your eyes open to, what that was really about. Trying to think. writing the theme music was fun for Monday and for tea bags and all that good stuff. So those were good times as well. And, really when it comes down to it, just some of the other guests we had too, my buddy Rob came and talked about, his days of doing sound effect work for Warner Brothers and stuff, and his industry experience. And he's a really good guy and goofy and fun, if you will. Gosh, that was 2019. That's 3 years ago now, and, we've just covered a lot of different things. I mean, from Tom York and, hearing people love it or hate it, Fiona Apple, love it or hate it. Tony loving Neil Young was also a key moment in my life.
Florida, baby.
Yes, exactly. So
Best
I wanted
song ever.
I wanted to write a Neil Young-esque song for him and have it kind of play through an episode, but I never got around to getting it done. Maybe someday.
I thought about sending Tony like a condolence card because once Neil removed his music from Spotify, I don't know what Tony's going to do.
Null and void now, right? That's awesome. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun. We've put the fun and dysfunction around here.
Indeed. A couple that stood out for me, one that I never ever thought when we reviewed it that I would like was 21 Pilots. It was because it had that super cool backstory and it had all those seeds that they had planted online, and it became like a huge thing where people were trying to figure out what the messages meant and what the clues were. And the album, it's not something I want to go back to all the time, but it was decent enough. But it was just the buildup I thought was really cool. The way that they, you don't use your record companies like you used to anymore. The money's just not there. So you got to be creative in the way that you use your internet and all that. And so I think what they did through social media and Reddit and all these things was so cool. And so that was an album that really surprised me. And honestly, the one we just did a few weeks ago, Steve Vai, that really surprised me. I didn't anticipate liking that as much as I did. I thought it would be a shredder, just like a, Zakk Wylde, guitar solo for half an hour. And that was definitely not it. And I really enjoyed that. So that's something that I do go back to already. And I think I'll continue.
Yeah, and case in point, there's bands that we've loved through the years. And of course, we gravitate towards things that we're more passionate about naturally. And sometimes we explore the fringe. But when you take a band like 9 Inch Nails, and we had a release that we reviewed, and most of us were kind of like, it was kind of predictable, right? You know what I mean? So, but, at the end of the day, we're not just hyping up the bands we like because we like them. We're going to be honest about, this is what's great about it. This is what was kind of crap, and going to go about our day, And I mean, really, it's like we're still nice about it. It's not like, well, most of us anyway. Some people get a little grumpy.
Well, if you remember,
was not nice.
No, you weren't nice to Fiona.
I was not nice about Fiona Apple. I was going to say that was one of the music that I was surprised by was Fiona Apple, because I love her first album. I dig her second album, kind of fell off. And this one I absolutely hated. And I could not say anything nice about it. It's like I just let my inner Oscar the Grouch out. Oh my gosh. I felt like it was funny, but I don't know. If somebody's listening to that, they might not. I just kind of threw my hands up and like, I got nothing here. So
I think the rest of us liked it.
Yeah.
But see, the stinker for me, which was really disappointing, is Pumpkins are one of my top 5 bands of all time. I did not like the new record. I think I liked it less than everybody. I just could not get into it. So I think we're pretty honest about how we feel about these things.
One that I was pleasantly surprised about was the Metallica, the S&M 2. Because I really was prepared for just more of the same kind of, but it's been so long since the last one that I feel like the band has grown, and the second one is so much better than the first time around. And I think they chose better songs, and there were very, very few that I felt like were absolute clunkers, and there were several on the first time on the first go around, but
and so the recording quality.
Yes, and man, that was impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that one a lot too, and I like the fact that it wasn't just the orchestra playing their songs, but then they played a couple of songs that the orchestra brought forward, which was really a nice touch. And I listened to that one a lot when it came out. I really like that one.
Yeah.
So, anything else that jumps out before we close out?
We've had a lot of hit and miss this past couple of years because of COVID and crazy schedules and stuff, but it's been fun. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we try to carve a little time, and it's good for me too because sadly I've been so busy that I don't listen to a lot of music these days. But I've been finding myself listening more and getting fired back up. And I guess one of my New Year's resolutions is to take my music more seriously and start working on a new album and Under the Phoenix Supernova, and really try to create a heartfelt project and just get some feels out because I don't get out much and there's not much else to do, so might as well use my time creatively and get my frustrations out.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. And I think the one thing that we did, I mean, we made a lot of mistakes along the way, and we probably could have made this show a lot better as we went, but calling it Wanderings and Woolgathering opens it up so that it's not just music, because we're so passionate about comics and things like that it allows us to do those things as well. Because I loved having, a wave blue world. Like, oh, that's a tongue twister. And then, and I'm excited to have Star Child on, and we've been able to talk about books and things like that. So it's nice that it kind of encompasses basically anything that we want to do. Yeah. And I do have on order, and I'm really excited. It should be here soon. I may do like a live opening, but I did order Apocalypse 91 from Public Enemy. It's a re-release. So it's got the comic book with it. It's the hardcover. It's signed by Chuck D, which
nice.
I cannot wait for that. Sweet. It has some prints, one that he actually created, and then and it's got a new vinyl re-release. It's going to be, I think it's green. From that record, which is an amazing record. So when it comes in, I may do a live opening just to show everybody what that looks like.
That's awesome.
Super exciting.
Nice.
Yeah. We've talked. We brought some comics in. We've done some movie stuff. We did our big Endgame.
Yep.
Endgame. Review, and we're doing TV, talking about Boba Fett and Peacemaker and all that. So yeah, I'm expanding our horizons. I'm all for it.
Yep, exactly. Wait till I add my cooking show segment or something. I'm just kidding.
Hey, we're Wandering and Woolgathering. You can do whatever you want.
Nice.
Nobody cares. But we have kind of meandered this week because it was number 100. But next week we are back at it. We are going to be hitting it hard with Monday. Tell us what we're reviewing.
I believe next week we are reviewing Slash's new album with Miles Kennedy, and I don't remember what his band is called. But I'm looking forward to it. Miles Kennedy is an amazing singer, and Slash he's a legend, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
The early releases are good. They're promising, so I'm looking forward to. We always, for those who are maybe new to the show, we break them down pretty much song by song. Unless it's like that latest Metallica one that had 50-some songs on it. But typically we break them down song by song. And then we will also be back to doing a challenge prior to. I don't know if we'll get to the Lester Bangs challenges just yet. But we're going to look at songs next week that if you stripped all the music away, what song would be a beautiful poem. Super poetic, even without that music that gives you all of that drama and it gives you the feels. So strip it away. Which one is good? So we're going to do that challenge. We're going to review Slash. And boys, anything else before we sign off from episode 100?
Congratulations on 100 episodes, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I came in about episode 8 or 9. So I was listening, and you guys kept mentioning me, and then you had me on, and then you couldn't get rid of me. So
yeah, well, you are a welcome addition. So I think now you probably have the second most episodes next to me. Easy.
Yep.
It's just fun for me. I just love doing it. I like getting on and talking about whatever music, like all the stuff I'm into. I don't get to talk about this stuff with too many people, so it's just fun.
Yep.
Well, how many albums of these that we've done would you not have listened to had we not been doing this show? Would you have listened to Beauty and Chaos had we not been? And think about how much of our
I don't know if I would have
around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I would have found that. I probably would have eventually, because I feel like Paul would have heard it from
Mhm.
Steven, and then he would have been like, "Hey, check this out, man," and I would have been like, "Oh, this is cool," you know.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
I
I mean,
know.
I can't even count half the albums I would have never listened to before, like 21 Pilots for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I wouldn't have touched that.
yeah. Well, you know, even like Tom York's latest and Fiona Apple, things like that. It's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
cool. I definitely enjoyed him back in the day, but I don't know that I would have gone and revisited it. But, you know, putting you know, myself to task was certainly essential. And, you know, it's really I guess expanded my palate, I guess if you will,
Mhm.
back to some of those roots and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and it's just fun. I love the challenges we've had.
Mhm.
Maybe we should have talked about that. Maybe another time we'll revisit some of those. But the challenges have been fun. So we'll get back to that next week. But until then, if anybody has listened or watched tonight and they want to go and follow you on social media, Mr. Mundy, where might we find you?
Easiest place to find me is on Instagram. I am at Metalhead Monday, and that, as you can see right there, is MUNDY.
Right, JPP.
You can
Where might
find
we
me.
find you?
My new profile is the Phoenix Supernova on Instagram. If you want to go old school, you can find me under just plain Paul, all one word. But I'm trying to grow that other account with some of the new stuff, and that's PHOENIX, not
Yeah. And
Phoenix.
you've been releasing some little snippets lately. Are any of those going to end up on some of your record?
And that's my intention for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of brewing some stuff in the lab and making some noise and experimenting and just trying to mangle sound and, you know, let it express all
Yeah.
my frustrations of the past couple of years.
So I was laughing at the graphic. It says you can Foggy at Foggy's Pal.
Oh man, I don't want a Foggy.
I don't want a
God.
Foggy either.
Gosh, and I'm the one that did these, and I screwed up my own.
Nice.
Technical difficulties. God, this StreamYard really is screwing things up. I don't know what's going on. I mean, clearly I wouldn't have had the problem.
Hey,
there we go.
Amazing.
See, StreamYard heard us and they fixed it.
well
God
done,
bless
StreamYard.
those people.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, you can Foggy at Foggy's Pal on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find Wanderings in Woolgathering on YouTube now. You can find us live and you can find it after the fact. It will be posted there. You can also find us on Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, and SoundCloud. And you can find album, movie, TV, and comics reviews at wanderingsandwoolgathering.com. So I think that wraps up tonight, and we will see you next week for episode 101. See you then, everybody. Bye now.